Hello, everyone. I'm just going to adjust my camera a little bit. My name is Gabrielle. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. Haha, get myself together. All right, so if you are new to the show, we've been doing this for a while now, but there's always a new face that straggles along. That is fine. All new faces are welcome, and all returning faces are welcome as well. So, if you are new to the show, let me tell you what we're about. This is the web series where we like to talk that real talk. We like to talk about things that you only talk about with your friends and your family. We like to put it all out there in the open. So we tend to focus on specific areas. We tend to focus on things pertaining to public health, mental health, education, financial literacy. Uh, we have done episodes on uh, having divorced parents, being a child of divorce. Um, Trying to think what else. We've done a few other we've done multiple episodes as well. I'm trying to remember what else we did. Oh, homeschooling. We have a whole set of homeschooling episodes as well. So we have plenty of episodes that we've done on this series, and I encourage you to check out our other episodes. So wherever you are watching this episode, I encourage you to check out our other videos and clips. So, with that said, let's get right to it. So, the topic of this episode is Living with a Disability Part 8. So, obviously, there's a parts 1 through 7, right? Which again, you could check out in our video library depending on wherever you are watching this episode. So, your eyes do not deceive you. We like to repeat topics here because we believe that there is multiple perspectives to one topic, right? There's more than one way to see one topic, right? So we may repeat topics over and over again, but it's a different guest each time because we like to look at multiple perspectives for one thing. And I have a guest with me who is going to sit on the hot seat today, who's going to take the fire. Her name is Reeba Daniel, and I look forward to talking to her and getting her perspective on things, right? So, with that said, oh, I forgot my little band. I'm just going to do this real quick. So, let me tell you about our guest. Who is Reba Daniel? Let me tell you who she is. So Reeba Daniel is the founder of R&ARIE. I don't know if I feel like I'm not saying that right. Keep Growing Seeds and Aria Bookmarks is a serial entrepreneur with a socially driven focus of building a self-care network supported by community. Brief and to the point. All right, so with that said, I'm going to bring her to the stage right now. Hi, Reba. How you doing today?
Great. Thank you so much for having me, Gabrielle. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I feel like I know I butchered your business name. What's the name of your business?
R&ARIE. So it's my first initial and my daughter's name.
R&ARIE. Awesome, awesome. Right. Um, so let's get right to it.
Great.
We're here to talk about ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And you had a great story, and I'd love for you to tell your story to the audience. So I'm gonna hand over the baton to you, and I'm just gonna have you dive right to it. So if you could just tell your story, tell your story from the beginning.
Great. Thank you all. I um, was first diagnosed with ADD is what it called it back then, but they have now clumped them all together to being ADHD. And I started to have issues with attention span, starting 7 years old, starting first grade. Got diagnosed pretty quickly. With diagnoses back then, especially came with also medication. So I was on medication for a short while, had a lot of unwanted symptoms or that happened from that, and so wasn't on that very long. And so with also having a diagnosed math learning disability, I struggled a lot in school. I struggled a lot, even though I was the person who was always talking in class and not really being able to focus and pay attention, which gave the idea of not caring about my academics, which was far from the case. It's just after you get so far from not knowing, everything is foreign at that point. And so I struggled a lot in school. The one thing that helped me out a lot during that is music. I went to school for opera performance and did a lot of musicals, and so I could have that outlet there. And being involved in the arts and dance and painting and all of that kind of stuff really helped for me to find folks that thought like me, folks that were creative, intuitive, and so that helped a lot. I went to college for opera performance, and personally, I think, if someone looked at my resume would see, successes, but I think for myself, I really didn't reach any sort of success that I felt personally attached to, or until I started my own business, which was at the end of 2019 after losing my job as a call center manager, November of 2019. And I decided that I would provide the services that I was having a tough time being able to access for myself. So whether or not that was friendships, that was, towards the beginning February, I guess, is really when the pandemic really started. But it can be difficult to find folks that you connect with or share lived experiences with. And so I set out to create a company that focuses holistically on self-care. So not just a bath bomb or body oil, but also food autonomy. How are you eating? Is it wellness for you? Not just the typical stereotype of what we see, wellness and yoga pants and all of that kind of stuff, but what does wellness look like for you? In the future, we will focus on housing support and building intentional communities. And all of this has really helped me to not see my disabilities as a hindrance, but really as a superpower. It doesn't always feel like a superpower, that is for sure. But I have also learned, when I become overwhelmed, what my brain does then, when I'm tired, when I'm hungry, all of these things kind of affect that disability, or being in a space that has a lot of, a lot of loud talking. That's difficult for me to be around, even though I crave to be around people. It's kind of like the whole introversion too, where you have to fill yourself back up after. So kind of deal with that.
Thank you for sharing. I know it's a lot to deal with. Um, so I wanted to touch on some points that we discussed in our preliminary interview. Uh, just now, you just talked about relationships with other people. One of my little notes here, you talked about that you've had some trouble with friendships. Um, can you talk about that more?
Yes, definitely have had trouble with friendships, especially long-term ones. I am great with, having one person or two people to reach out to, but to remember or have the energy to go out when invited to spaces, or just totally space that you had said that you were going to be somewhere and completely get so hyper focused on something that you don't even remember what is going around you, or what calendar event you have. It's hard as a neurodivergent to deal with, well, not to deal with, but to, for me, to build close connections with those that are not neurodivergent, because there's things like memory or having to have certain implementation of steps so that you don't forget.
So how are things now in terms of relationships, friendships, um, with how you connecting with other people? How are you today?
Yes. So instead of feeling like a fish trying to climb a tree, instead now I have focused to be around other creatives and folks that are neurodivergent, or are sympathetic to that mindset, and willing to go through that navigation of friendship and steps to, um, okay, I can see why you want to leave this space because there's too many people in it right now and it's super overwhelming for you. Um, I can see why you don't want to do that certain opportunity because um, it may grade against something in regards. I'm trying to think of something like that, but yeah. It's gotten better. It's gotten a lot better. I found my people, and I found that a lot of those people who think that way were also trying to find their people. So, having a brick and mortar space where we're able to meet, where we're able to um, have information sessions on how to be able to cope and to actually make it a superpower, your ADHD, has been really helpful and really community and soul building.
So the fact that you're able to control your environment more, it sounds like that's been easier for you.
I love that you put it that way. Yeah, absolutely. Having control of the space, having the ability to take control. I struggled with being able to understand when a boss said, "Hey, I wanted to do this and use your creativity to make it, and then it not be what they wanted ultimately." And I have created a way now for me to be that person, to live in my truth and what creativity looks like for me. And um, at being 39, this is the first time where I've really felt truly empowered, for my success and my future and other people's future. Um,
Hmm. So what does creativity look like for you?
yeah. Creativity could be doing a sketch with my daughter. Sometimes I like to get a notebook and she draws, and then I draw what she draws on the other side. And it's a real bonding time for us to be able to talk about that tool belt, what's on there that she just drew, or anything like that. Creativity could be coming up with a new fragrance blend. Um, I read a lot about different herbs and what they do for the body, and how to be able to formulate when someone says, "Hey, I'm not finding this in the market, can you make it smell like this?" Or I want it to smell like, um, one time, like my grandma's closet, stuff like that, that kind of earthy, kind of cedar smell. And so that's really lovely. Creativity is coming up with workshops, finding those folks that are that can be able to provide those workshops to the community that I'm building. Um, art. I paint. I do a little bit of drawing. Creativity even comes in the business side of working in Canva and coming up with a new um, a new post.
So when you say being creative, it's you have the space to be more artistic, to do more things that you love to do, and you do those things to bond with your daughter or to facilitate your business. So it's you're not, stuck doing something mundane. It's you get to color, you get to draw, you get to do graphic design, you get to do a lot of colorful things.
Yeah, and I also get to practice self care, which is also something a lot of times when we're in a setting where we need to be working 10 hours, to be able to take that break for 20, 30 minutes, or not even 30 minutes, 45 minutes, of not just eating, but actually like just recollecting yourself. And I with the support of my spouse, have been able to do that over the past couple of years. And I feel that it's really helped me to be able to thrive and to become more the person that I knew was in there to be.
Hmm, okay. So you mentioned it a couple times about ADHD being a superpower. So I'm a little confused. Are you saying that it is a superpower or it is not?
It's both. So I feel like a superpower to be able to hold quite a few big ideas and to see the vision fully, and to be empowered or to find ways to make it come to fruition, is really great. Not remembering why I walked into a room, or um, where I put my keys when I just had them with me. Um, that does not feel like a superpower. Not being able to losing track of focus or hyper focus. I have that ability too. So that's great when you want to just like get something done. It's also tough when you were working on a business proposal and you end up looking up um, purple flowers for 4 hours.
Well, you get distracted sometimes.
Hugely distracted, or even with my business. So I make skincare, I make body products, but I'm like, hey, maybe I could make earrings. And then I buy all the things for earrings. And then that hyper focus of trying to learn everything about earrings is now gone, and I'm left with inventory. So that happens.
So you shop a lot as well.
I don't shop a lot. Unless I have justified it as a business purchase. I'll say that. So I don't spend a lot of money on myself. Besides buying clothing for my kid or something like that, I don't really spend it in that way. Although there has been patterns where that is my retail therapy, essentially is clothing shopping or something like that. But more now that I'm not really in the office so much, I don't really care about my overall appearance. Is more for comfortability and really just owning who I am, and not feeling that I have to look a certain way when I come into the office. But yeah, shopping can be a problem.
Hmm. So it's not like you're spending there's moments where you spend money on things that you need, right, for yourself, for your business, for your daughter, and then you may have these random moments where you'll just buy a whole bunch of things and now you have too much of it.
Yeah, specifically inventory that I don't need. So like something that is not focused on my skincare, or Yeah, that's majorly it. That's where I really see it as a problem. There are some times where I'll do research and I'm like, oh, I'd like to implement this oil, but it's not a part of my formula. And so I have to learn that part in order to implement it into the formula, when I could have used that to pay a bill. to, um, yeah, just organization is not built into that superpower. Um, but I've also learned how to navigate that by having certain fail safes, or I always put my keys here. Yeah, certain patterns that I stick with.
All right, well, tell us more about the organization. W- what what's going on there?
Yeah. Um, so because forgetfulness is a part of it, um, always putting something here, or having certain spaces where I put items, is huge to organization. Making sure that if I do make a meeting with someone, that it goes directly into my calendar, whether or not they're going to send me another calendar invite. Because if it's not there, it's like it literally never happened. Um, um, in regards to the house, not really having a bunch of knickknacks, so everything kind of has its place where it goes, is helpful. Um, because the alternative to that is when the spending comes in and Amazon makes it super easy, and then you have boxes of a whole bunch of stuff that you don't even remember what was in there because you again were hyper focused on something a month ago. Um, and so that's really helpful. Routines, although I absolutely abhor routines, it is really vital towards me getting a lot done. And accountability also really helps me as well. So besides the organization, having accountability partners, whether or not that's someone who's body doubling, someone who says, "Hey, did you change that on your website?" I literally got a message this morning where someone is like, "Hey, um, can you fix that up for me so that I can be able to, based upon like the strategic planning that we did." And so, um, yeah, that constant having to check in is okay for some people, and a deal breaker for some people.
Hmm. So that's how you stay that's one of the ways that you stay focused is you have you work with a team of people that's constantly on you, right? And you also it sounds like you use technology. So you use things like a Google Calendar and you set it to give yourself alerts.
Right.
So some being that constant nuisance, that constant reminder from other people, from your phone, that helps you stay on track and stay focused.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's vital. And the accountability, because I can feel bad and be like, oh, shoot, I flaked on that when I really actually wanted to be there for that meeting. So I think there's also a certain amount of grace when people work with me, is I'm just really upward, and just like, this is the way my brain works. Please, reach out to me if you haven't heard back from me. It's not because I don't think it's important, it's because 10,000 other things come to be important, and I don't remember to go back to the last one unless I've made myself an alert. um,
Hmm. So now that brings me to time management, which is another note that I made here. So tell us about that.
so one of the things about ADHD is a complete lack of knowing how to track time. So if there isn't a clock, 15 minutes could feel like 4 hours. So I have learned, one, again, setting alerts on my phone. I'm not gonna lie, not so great about that. I have learned to read the sun, which um, works, except for like in the wintertime and stuff. That whole reset again is hard, but like especially in the summertime, I can generally tell you around what time it is. And I write things down a lot. So, and I just mark it off. Like, even if it's just the physicality of like, hey, do the dishes, then you got to do this, then do this, and marking it off. My daughter is really good at the time management. She was just like, this might be a little too much information, but she'd be like, hey, mom, can you make me a sandwich? And I'm in the work and I'm like, sure, I'll make you a sandwich. And she's like, Mom, I need you to write it down calendar so that you can be, and then I know, okay, and like, let me go take care of my kid. But like, she knows even that she needs to prompt me in remembering things. And she helps me also be able to create lists like, okay, what are you doing today? What is it that you need to accomplish? And whether or not she understands, like she's also involved in the process, which she likes.
So, how do you run a business knowing that you have all these things going on?
Uh, Not every day is the same, which is great. Using the calendar invites, writing things down. I probably have 500 notes in like the Google note things that they have. I use tasks a lot. Um, it was fine when I was doing online retail to be able to keep things in house, but as my businesses start to build out and I start to, like this year, I'll be going to the farmer's market with food that I've produced. Um, and so there's that land, like working the land and doing all of that and fitting it into the business. I also have a brick and mortar that will be opening back up in April. And then I run a Saturday event from there. So I think probably the way I keep things all contained is partners. That's been instrumental for me. If I had to do this all by myself, it'd be one business. I'd be focused on making skincare. But because I have picked businesses where I can have a board, I could have, 3 or 4 partners that help push me along throughout the week to get these big visions to fruition. That saved me, honestly.
All right. All right. Um, so let's bring it back to your childhood. I have in my notes here that you were diagnosed with ADHD somewhere between 7 and 9 years old.
Yes.
I think you briefly mentioned it. So how was school for you?
School was not great. Probably about by second grade, I was already behind in regards to math, but I didn't get diagnosed with having a math disability until I was in my first year of college, and just was not being able to finish tests in time. Another part of ADHD is it's very difficult to take tests. So even though I had the diagnosis when I was younger, it wasn't really anything that influenced my years of learning after that. Um, or like even different learning ways, like visual. I'm very much a visual and tactile person, and being able to learn a lot of things are auditory or writing things down. Um, and so I struggled with that. I struggled with paying attention. Um, Capturing my attention was also difficult. Teachers I think overall I was a likable person, but I could definitely tell where I gravitated towards more English and artistic sort of things rather than math and sciences. That was more difficult for me. Um, yeah, I I think there's a few other things that also affected it as well. I mean, I grew up in a predominantly and learned in predominantly an all white space. Um, it is usually to where it's rare for a woman to, or a girl to be diagnosed with ADHD. It usually is way later in life when you're just like, um, yeah, but it wasn't necessarily, it didn't guide my learning. It didn't, I don't even know if my teachers even knew that I had it. Um, and maybe they did because I was a kid that was bouncing all over the place. So maybe they did know, but thought, that's just hyperactivity, or I don't know. It was also a big thing back then to push pills. Um, when you received a diagnosis with kids that are bouncing around and whatnot. Yeah, learning was tough. Being in school was tough. The amount of hours of sitting down or having to sit down, um, making connections was, yeah, it was difficult.
So I mean, you touched briefly about like you were bouncing around. So, and I think I have a note here about behavioral issues. So, um, what what did your teacher say about how you behaved in class? So, were your parents were your parents called all the time about you, or did you have the timeout corner? How would you how did other people rate your behavior while in school?
Gosh, I totally forgot about the timeout corner. Yes, there are many times where I there are many times when I had to be in timeout. A lot of detention, had a lot of detentions that happened. Um, had a lot of I had a lot of um, not very high grades, so that also brought a fear around when um, report cards would come out. That was a really stressful time around our house. I would often hide those, or homework. I never did homework. If you didn't get it from me, like no, I'm not going home and doing that. And so my mom was called in a lot. My mom was also one where she didn't play with her kids, about her kids. And so I will say that there were many times where she had to champion for me and just be like, hey, this is because, she thinks differently, or because she needs different needs. And then she would try to help me find an outlet. Most times it was in some arts regard.
So when you say your mama didn't play, what
No.
did she do?
Would go into the principal's office and advocate. I think there were a lot of layers to that as well. You've got school board, or folks who are used to folks that look like them and not having um, cultural responsiveness, or yeah, my mom also worked. She did the DARE program all the way back in the day, so she was in the schools a lot. So she had that presence there. They just knew, like, hey, this is going on with Reeba today, and she would get a message, and we talk about it. And then she was back in the school. I mean, I can remember times where she definitely wasn't dressed to be out in public, but like, I would tell her something that happened that evening, and bright and early she'd be there with me at drop off to talk about it. One time, a teacher, I didn't do my homework in first grade, and um, my discipline was not going to lunch, and then she forgot to release me to lunch, so I went the entire day without it. Um, and so that was a very troubling time for the principals and the school board.
So that was also a troubling time for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm. So, how old were you when all this was happening?
I'd say I was in first grade, so I was 7. I moved from Brooklyn to a very small town in Ohio, very rural, very small demographic of minorities there. Um, and so that also was difficult in being able to create and to maintain relationships. My mom was from the Caribbean, so had the accent, and there was the whole thing, and eating curry all the time, and this was okay, not great.
Yeah, so I have Caribbean parents too, and when it comes to Caribbean cultures, um they may not fully understand what's going on, or what's going on they may see as, oh, she's just acting a fool, she's all over the place. But they may not understand to mean like you have an actual medical condition. Um, so do you get the sense, because you brought up Caribbean parents, I'm wondering if do you think there's a cultural aspect to how they viewed your ADHD?
Yes. I think there are a lot of, I guess I would just say, for lack of a better term, parents who care very much about your academics. That was very huge. My mom ended up going back to college and graduating around the time when I was in high school, middle of high school. She went back and got her social work degree. Also became a naturalized citizenship. So I got to see her go through all of these things. Um, I think that's probably why she just focused more on art. So she just realized like math was not my thing. Math is not her thing. And it was nice to be able to have that outlet. But I do think that academically she would have liked to have seen me go farther. But um, I think she's super proud of what I have learned about myself, and the resiliency to now have this business where I'm able to help myself and others. And I hope she's proud.
And I just want to get this point in. You also mentioned about your brain not working right. I'm not sure if someone told you that or that's what you thought to yourself. If you can you elaborate on that more?
Sure. Um, yeah, not working right. I guess what I mean is more to traditional or non neurodivergent. And so while I'm even learning, I mean, TikTok was huge in learning like different aspects of this that I've been troubled or plagued with, or um, and realizing that it is a chase for dopamine. It's not like I'm dumb. It's not like, or like it's, and to take the control out of it as well and just be like, this is brain patterns. It's not like you could learn, like I could learn ways of being able to get through it or to avoid certain pitfalls, but my brain will always go back to there. And that is as an adult. And I guess maybe in the past 3 or 4 months that I've been really trying to reconcile with, where um, I could plan all day long and still forget where I put the keys. Even if I have them in my hand. I've done that where I just walking around with my keys or my phone asking people where it's at.
I'm so sorry about you. Carrie is on deck. She's in the bathroom right now. She's over. We're gonna have an additional conversation.
Um, See, this is also the thing. I've got a lot going on and a lot of folks that help. And part of that too is when people say to take self-care, which I'm really, really focused on now, is self-care, not just for other people and supporting them, but self-care for myself as well. What does that look like? What does taking a brain break for me look like? So that I can be able to refocus and reconnect with what I'm doing, and to hold focus. Um, but it's also managing the expectation of other people as to how my brain works and what those nuances are, that I'm finding my way, but again, I'm aligning with a lot of folks that also think that way, and that's been really helpful.
Right, that support system that's helpful to you.
It's key. It is vital and key. The partners, the relationships, the running a business is so lonely anyway, especially when you're the first person in your family um, to own that certain type of business or a business at all, or go to college, or those sorts of things, like being the first. Um, we do have a support system of family, but where I live now, I don't have family. And so it's building that new family and those foundations, to be able, yeah, to support myself, both, emotionally and also being part of community.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, we're starting to wind down now. Do you have any final words of wisdom that you'd like to share, or any advice that you want to share with our viewers?
Yes. Be kind to yourself. Give yourself grace. It's so hard to do because you're holding yourself at the expectation of others and aligning your life with the fact of, I may have to take 2 days off so that I can be able to refresh. And I think that's really for anyone, whether they have a disability or not, is building in that self-care for yourself and knowing that it may not look like others, but it's still vitally important, because that's how you continue to feel yourself. Um, so I would find ways around that and find folks that align with those ways, so that they can be able to support you in healthy ways.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Reba. All
Thank
right,
you.
let me put up your banner. So, you guys, Reba is all over social media. Check her out, follow her, follow her, like her, whatever it is, do that. So she's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's the same username for a lot of them, so there's no reason for you to forget, right? So uh, definitely follow her. Check her out on all her social media platforms. If you want to learn more about her and her services, her website is www.r-arie.com. So Reba, can you tell us about your business?
Yes, so I own a self-care company that I create self-care products, body care products, CBD infused products. I collaborate with small businesses to release, we call it the R&ARIE Mood Box. They are themed, and somehow wellness motivated. I do have a brick and mortar shop that will be opening the first week of April, the weekend, on Saturday, April 2nd, and that is in the Old Town area of Portland, Oregon. We will be having online and also in-person wellness events that surround de-escalation, racism, um, self-defense, a lot of the things that we're coming out of as now having to be around people again, and how do we navigate those spaces, perceived threats, all of those things, and really focusing on healing.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so definitely stay in touch with her. And for those of you in the Portland, Oregon area, or you can get to Portland, definitely check out her brick and mortar opening on April 6th, you said?
Second.
April 2nd, yes. And more details, I'm assuming, will be on your website.
Yes.
So, more details on her website. That information is scrolling below at the bottom of your screen, as well as all of her social media. So, definitely check her out. And she has multiple Instagram accounts, I would like to point out, so you are not confused. She does have multiple Instagram accounts. So, please go to all of her Instagram accounts and follow all of those accounts. There you go. All right. So, Reba, thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm going to place you backstage. And you guys, it is just you and me now. So, I'm going to put up my banner if I can find it. There's my banner right there. All right. And we have reached the conclusion of our episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, wherever you are watching this episode right now, whether you're watching this on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, maybe Instagram. So, whatever social media platform that you are watching this episode, I encourage you to check out that platform for our other episodes and for other videos and clips. And don't forget to follow us. So, please follow us on our social media and stay in touch with us. And while you're at it, please let us know what you thought about this episode by leaving a comment in the comment section below or in the comment thread. I, Gabrielle, would love to know your thoughts about this episode, and they will be greatly appreciated. And as a reminder, who is us? Us, we are a step ahead tutoring services. So if you would like to learn more about us, about our services, our workshops, the things that we have to offer, if you're looking for tutoring for yourself or even for your own child, please reach out to us. Our website is scrolling below as well as our social media. But, sorry, but I will say our website right now. It is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. So I encourage you to go to our website to learn more about us. And I also encourage you to sign up for our email list and our texting list. So if you join those things, you will learn about our promotions, our discounts, and any special events that are going on, and you'll know about all that before everyone else. So I encourage you to join our email list and our texting list. That information is also scrolling below at the bottom of your screen. And I'm going to share this last message before we officially close.
Hey there, have you heard of us? We're a small team of tutors here at A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. We believe that education and information should be accessible to everyone, regardless of income, race, or creed. We're dedicated to making this happen, but we need your help. Please consider making a donation to our company. No amount is too small. Your donation will allow us tutors to remain employed, offer free and low-cost services, put on productions like this web series, and reach out to families nationwide. With your help, we can tackle the academic challenges of our students and the emotional, mental, and behavioral changes that result from these challenges. As a bonus, we can improve our communities in the process. Support us today. Note: we're a for-profit company. We're not a charity. Your donation may not be tax deductible. Please consult a tax professional.
All right, and that is it for our episode. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you at the next episode. Now, I am signing off.